Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name's Brittany at Coslit Candle Co. and I make videos about everything you need to run your candle business. Today I wanted to do a beginner's video on candle making just because whether you're doing it for a hobby or you want to start making candles as a business, I feel like candle making is relaxing, it's fun, I absolutely love it. So, it's something I definitely want to share with you guys today. So, before we get started, you need a kitchen scale, a pouring pitcher, something to stir it with, a heat source, a jar. Today I'm using this jar just because I feel like when you start making candles, mason jars are the most readily available. So I think this is the closest jar I have to a mason jar right now. So this is what I'm gonna use. You also need fragrance oil. I'm using Plumeria today. And then I use a tin for my fragrance oil. And this is just because when you pour fragrance oil into something, it can degrade what you're putting it into, especially if it's paper or styrofoam. So you really don't want anything else getting into that candle. So I use either glass or metal for my fragrance oils, and I find that works really, really well for me. So that's what I'm going to be using for that today. And then you also need a thermometer, a wick holder, wax, and wick stickers. So we have a little bit of everything today. And you can just find most of this stuff on Amazon, or if you want to try it out, you can go to Hobby Lobby or something and get a candle making kit. And they give you everything you need just to get started. And when you do that, you don't have to worry about the wax frosting or getting wet spots on your jar or craters, stuff like that. Usually you won't have to worry about. So that should be good. So before I started this video, I had originally gotten all of my numbers set up and done the math out, just so I could make this video a little bit easier today. So I figured out my jar. It holds about 7 ounces of wax, and that's about 198 grams of wax in grams. I'm going to be doing it in grams because it's easier to weigh out your fragrance oil in grams. When I had originally started, I wanted to do everything in ounces, and I figured out it's actually a lot harder to work with ounces rather than grams. So I started doing it with grams, and ever since then my life has been 1,000 times easier. So if you're stubborn like me and want to do ounces, I highly recommend just playing around with grams just once and see if you like it and try going from there. I think that's it though, so let's get started. I put all of my wax in the pouring pitcher. Now, some people like to do double boilers for their wax. I personally don't, and I've never had issues with it. But if you want to try a double boiler, you can do it that way as well. Personally, I like it like this. And usually I actually use my Presto pot. But for the sake of today's video, I figured I'd use a pouring pitcher just so you guys could see how I do it. So you're gonna get your scale ready, get it set to grams, and you want it to be zeroed out when you're doing this, just because you want to weigh the wax out properly. So I'm gonna grab my wax. So we need 186 grams of wax and 12 grams of fragrance oil. I plan to do a video about fragrance oils soon, with the equations and all of that, but for right now I figured I'd just do the math out beforehand and go from there. So we're at exactly 186. So with this, I'm just going to take it and put it right on the heat source. Put it on high. Get my thermometer ready. Okay, so you're going to zero out your scale again. And then I like to get the fragrance oil ready. So we need 12 grams of fragrance oil. Perfect. And I'm just doing 10%. Spilled a little. Wipe that down. I always keep paper towel handy because it can get a little messy. And I like to try and keep as organized as possible. Especially with wax dripping everywhere. Right after it dries, you kind of have to chip it off. That's really the best way I've found, is to chip it off and then wash the surface. Smells so good. So we're gonna check on our wax. And I just stir it as it goes. Melting fairly quickly. I absolutely love melting wax. I don't know why, but I feel like a scientist of sorts, especially when I mix in the fragrance oil. Now, as of right now, you don't really have to worry too much about over mixing the wax, but once it melts down, if you over mix that wax, sorry about that, you can get air bubbles inside of it, and when it's curing, the bubbles start to come up, and the tops of your candles will have little air bubbles, and a lot of people don't really mind stuff like that, but if you're a perfectionist like me and you really want those smooth tops on top, then over mixing it is something you really want to watch out for. And then keep going back. And it melts down fairly quickly. I'll show you what it looks like right now. Can you see it? Now I'm using a wood stir because wax is very hard to clean, and personally I don't like to get too much wax inside my drain. So when I'm like cleaning all of my supplies, I try to wipe them down first just to make sure I get that excess wax off of it, and that way it's not going down my drain. Because it is thick. You don't want clogs. Where are we at? Okay, I'm gonna let that melt down. I'll be right back. Okay, everyone, so that's almost at 200 degrees, which is when I take it off the heat source. So we're gonna get our jar started while we wait. I did recently post a video about how I wick my jars. So if you want to see that, I will link it below. It's fairly simple. So these wicks are really, really long. I'm just gonna trim it a little bit just so we don't have a crazy amount of excess. There we go. So you just want it right in the middle. And I want to say this jar is 2.5 inches in diameter. So that's something you want to look for when you start making your wicks. Making your candles. Wicks are important. Wax is important. If you are looking into it, study. And I do plan on making a video very, very soon about how to choose your wax and what you need to be looking for when you choose your wax. So I'm super excited about that, and I can't wait to show you guys. So if you guys are interested in seeing that, just subscribe and you'll see it very soon. So I just move it off the heat source. Okay, so I'm waiting for my oil to get between 165 and 175 degrees. Normally you would use 175 degrees to 185 degrees. However, with my fragrance oils, I found it's easier for me to drop my my temperature down and use it like that. I find the hot and cold throw work better for me personally. However, the recommended temperature is between 175 and 185, just for future reference. And another thing, I almost forgot to tell you, I wanted to talk to you about flashpoints in, I don't know if you can see it. So a flashpoint in your fragrance oil, it's very, very important, and this is for safety reasons. Now, fragrance oil, it can become flammable if it's overheated. Don't get scared. The flashpoint, if it's anything above that, that's when it gets a little dangerous. But anything below, you're fine. So just make sure you're mindful of it. This one's 200 degrees. And like I said, I'm waiting for it to be 165. It's about 177 right now. So I'm gonna wait a little while longer. Pour it then. Oh, I almost forgot to put the holder on my wick. There we go. So I find these holders, they don't fit these jars that well. You can use cotter pins. A lot of people will use that, or some people will even use clean hair clips, the type that you would find at the hairdressers where they clip your hair up so they can cut your hair or something. A lot of people will use those and just wrap the wick around and keep it tight. Right now this is all I have, so I'm gonna make do. Perfect. Okay, so now you just take your fragrance oil and put it right in. And like I said, you want to be mindful of how much you're stirring. You don't want to not stir it enough. But if you do it too aggressively, air bubbles will get trapped. And it just affects your end product. It's easily fixed with a heat gun, but not everyone likes to do that. So I try and do it like this the first time. And you can buy special stirrers, like wooden stirrers for it, but I personally like the wood. So I just zeroed out my scale. I have my container ready. And now I'm just waiting for the wax to cool to about 135 degrees. Between 135 and 140. Right now it's at 151.5. So the wax cools fairly quickly, especially if you're doing one candle. Unless you're doing a really big batch, and then it'll take about an hour to cool. So you're just going to take your pouring pitcher, and then I'm going slow because I want to make sure I get it to 198. However, if you pour it at too low of a temperature, you're going to lose a lot on the sides. And you're going to end up having a candle that's a little short on wax. So there it is. That's how you make a candle. So you're going to want to put it aside on a flat surface. Just to make sure it cools properly and is level. I had done one yesterday, I think it was, and this is what it looks like after. So something cool about colored jars though, I was talking to my brother about it actually, and we were in, I want to say Dollar Tree, and he had bought a candle that he thought was a really pretty blue. He likes blue, and he bought the candle solely because of the color. And then when we got home, or when he got home, he found out that the candle wax itself was white, but it looked like it was colored because of the jar. So if you are looking into having colored candles, but it is kind of a headache for you, this is always a way you can kind of help with that. Okay everyone, that's it for today. I had so much fun recording that for you guys. I did kind of trip over my words a little bit. I am a little shy and I'm still getting used to recording, but like I said, I'm having so much fun doing it and I'm gaining a lot of confidence in doing so. So I think that's just a bright side to these videos. If you liked this video and you want to see more of it, or if you want to see more content on running a candle business, just give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.